Feel free to bring up any tickers. I'll
Hey,
be
TG,
yeah. What's up, Phil?
I got to say something to you because you weren't here last week, so I need to make this really clear.
Sure.
So I asked the group, some just their general opinion about BIOR. And in the process of discussing, I said, well, I was curious what the future would be. And I said, when everybody said, well, we're not sure. And I said, well, I bought it, because I trusted you. And I want to make it clear, and I said, I still do trust you. I said, I don't blame you for anything or whatever's going to be on, and it may still be successful. So, but I didn't want you to think I was talking behind your back, A. And B, I'm still with you, brother. I mean, I still trust you a hell of a lot more than I trust me. So I didn't want you to think I was talking behind your back or saying anything negative. So I just want to clear that. And I'm still curious about what you think about BIOR at this point. If you, because I know your last, the reason I brought it up was in your last video on analysis of it, you weren't quite as optimistic as you were on the prior ones.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it happened. But I wanted to clear that before I said anything else. So
No problem. I will never get angry because somebody doubts me, but I appreciate the vote of confidence, Phil. I do appreciate it, and I believe you. So
there's a learning curve, and I don't care how intelligent someone is. There's always surprises in some stocks that you just haven't seen before. So,
well, I appreciate you coming forward to say something. You didn't have to, but thank you.
I'm always on the level.
And we'll go ahead and take a look at Biora. The fact is that it is getting attacked hard right now. The situation with Biora is they have a winning product. They have good trial data, but their company is losing money, and they are really on a thin margin between their runway to go to market and the cash they have to get them there. And that is putting them in this precarious situation. And shorts smell the opportunity. They are absolutely targeting the stock to try and push it down as quickly as they possibly can. They smell money, and they are trying to push it down. And it is working, unfortunately. That is just a fact. I'll go over to the Ortex data on Biora and share that with you guys.
Or have you thought
about? I still have all of it. I haven't sold anything on Biora.
Just out of curiosity, why didn't you sell it? If you see this work, I'm just trying to get your thought pattern.
Because my thoughts are that I purchased this with the intention of having it for long term. I did not want to take short-term capital gains tax on this. If I were to sell now, it would be a wash sale, and I could buy it back 60 days later, but I would drastically decrease my holdings. And the current situation, it feels like we're very near a bottom, but we have to wait for that reverse split. So while, yes, I could sell, and I might get an opportunity to buy it back later, at this point, the loss would not, I wouldn't get a tax write-off that's worth it to me to do that, and I would want to buy it right back because the company I have tremendous faith in.
That's what I want to know, because I'm still holding. So I was curious, walk me through that, if you don't mind, why you still have faith, even though it's at 18 cents, which is, obviously precarious.
Because the share price has nothing to do with the company's valuation. The valuation decision of Biora is based on their balance sheet, which does not take into account the intellectual property that they own, which is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. There is no other product on this planet Earth that even comes close to the innovation that these guys have created in the form of their drug delivery system, which is able to deliver drugs that otherwise must be delivered intravenously, but can now be taken in pill form, which is an incredible innovation that no one else has developed to date. And the idea is worth the idea by itself is worth hundreds of millions, but more so for the fact that it can be used to relicense and create new patents for existing drugs. So think of Humira, created by AbbVie. The drug's called adalimumab. That drug is going to be losing its patent. So it's going to be able to have biosimilars created and for the patent to be renewed under different names. So because of that, now AbbVie has a problem. Now AbbVie is no longer going to have the sole source access to this drug. So they need something to differentiate their product again, because they will lose that $20 billion that I just talked about in their peak global sales. And because of that, they need to figure out some way to re-patent it and get access to something that is uniquely theirs that they are known for. They want it to be Humira. This allows them to do it. If they have a pill that can deliver Humira, that is unique, that no other company would be able to do. The first company that is able to deliver Humira as a pill rather than intravenously would be able to establish a unique patent that they would be able to maintain, and no other pharmaceutical company could have that ever.
The form. In other words, the
well,
form
at least not for the
medication.
next 50 years.
Right. So theoretically, I mean, how would they hold on? Are we waiting for like results of phase 3, and if that comes out really good, that would reverse?
That is pretty much how I envision it. Is that if once they get past the point where they're able to start making deals with the pharmaceutical companies, getting past FDA approval for their product, they can start marketing this delivery system to operate with existing drugs, and they'll be able to establish partnerships with Pfizer, AbbVie. I think they're already with BioNTech, but
the whole lot, essentially. It'll catch on. Unless there's something better in the market, this will eventually catch on for all of them. I'm with you on that.
What's interesting to me is that ever since August, while the price has been in this massive decline, shorts have been exiting their positions, which tells me that retail gave up on it, and they're continuing to give up on it, and people are selling now at these rock bottom prices. And while I can understand that because they are likely to go through a reverse split, shorts are not piling in more and more and more and more. They're not doing that, which I find really interesting.
This would be, like you said, this would be like a perfect invitation, I would think.
You would think, but they're not. And that's what I find so freaking interesting. The thing is that we've talked about this since I first looked at Biora, going back to September of 2021 when it had its first squeeze. Right at the bottom of its chart was when it was at the height of its short interest, and it was getting obliterated. And insiders that worked at Ethereum Capital were selling shares whenever it popped and continuing to try to push it down. But it eventually culminated in a short squeeze. And I think that Ethereum was part of it. I think that Ethereum was actually playing both sides of it because they have multiple LLCs to their name, and each of those LLCs are independent firms. They're disregarded entities that can each have their own investment portfolio without being inextricably linked to each other. So you can have one fund that is buying shares. Let me put the thought out, but you can have one or several funds that are all buying shares, and on their balance sheet they're long on Biora, but the other fund could be short on it massively, such to the extent that it's far above what the combined portfolio of all the other entities are. And the purpose for doing that would be to push the price down during downward price action, take profit on those moves so that they can migrate those funds to the other funds and increase their portfolio by buying more shares at lower prices. So you have one fund that's pushing the price down, taking profit on the downslope, and then handing those funds, those winnings, over to the other firm, and then buying up shares at the bottom once the short and distort campaign is done.
Makes sense, yeah.
And it's never been able to be proven, but that is fraud. That's fraud because you have an insider that's already aware of what's going on, and they're using their unique position in the market to be able to manipulate the price and investor sentiment, all the while knowing exactly why the price is going down because they're the ones pushing it down, and they have access to all the information, so they know when the FDA preliminary is going to be filed. They know when the drug trial phases are nearing completion. They know what the results are before they've been announced publicly. Like, they get access to all that ahead of time.
How would they get that? How were they able to get that?
Because they're sitting on the
Like,
board of
they're a major
directors.
stockholder? Yeah, okay.
They're sitting on the board. So they know before anybody else does. That's the bullshit part about this, is that this is a pay-to-play system where all of the boards of directors already know what's going on, and most of the board members are these insanely rich assholes that are dragging the price of this down so that what people see in the market is a nothing stock. It's just, this is worthless, and that's the message they push.
Of its value is what you're saying,
right?
Any means. Like,
but they understand what's really happening is they are the ones pushing the price down, and they're trying to put the market at a price that's amenable to their goals, where they can buy more of it. Because to this day,
long now is what you're saying. They're positioning themselves for good results in the stock to pop ultimately.
Right. Because Ethereum has more than enough money, they will not allow these guys to fail and for their investment to go bust. They will. Yeah. Every time Biora gets into a cash crunch, Ethereum buys their stock, and they do it every time. They just did it again, and their stock popped a little bit, but then they kept getting shorted, and there was another pop in the short interest that happened right around, it was right around here in October. But Biora said, we are probably going to have to do a reverse split, and we're in desperate need of cash. And then Ethereum and a few, quote, private investors, lo and behold, magically came out of the ether and said, we'll buy it. And then they propped up their balance sheet again. Yeah. They do this every time. Ethereum is accumulating.
You're not worried. That, it's Ethereum is riding this, is basically what you're saying.
Right.
They're positioning themselves to make money by pumping and dumping until it really is ready to go to market, and then they want to be in long before it goes to market, before it can go to start selling to the market.
Right.
They want to be in at ridiculously cheap prices.
Right. And Ethereum has a modus operandi where they will do this. This has historically been their process, is to short stocks down till they become almost worthless. Then they buy 100% holding of the company, take it away from all the insiders, and then they hold overwhelming filibuster majority over shareholder voter power, and they get to make all the decisions, and they get to sell it to anyone to the highest bidder, basically. Ethereum's been acquiring shares of this company since it was traded at $20, and their cost average is somewhere in the range of like between $8 and $9 per share, and they hold 60% majority of it. These guys know what they're doing.
So if we stay in the TD, we ride their coattails?
Pretty much.
Is this how it will work? Or do we get shut out because they can push us out at some ridiculously low price? They can buy out and force us to sell us our shares to them?
Assuming that the stock went to OTC, then, I mean, technically you would still hold the shares. Even if the company went private, you would still hold shares in the company privately. You just wouldn't be able to sell it to anyone except for the company.
But it's still probably at a decent price. They're probably going to, because you wouldn't sell at a ridiculously low price. You'd still make money, even if that happened, essentially, given the value of the company holds out for a decent price.
You just have to be really, really, really patient. And it sucks because this is a painful test of patience. It's like you're going to have to wait for 10 years while I take a cheese grater to your head, and you're going to have to just sit there and take it. And if you stand up, I'm taking your shares. But that's what they're trying to do. Like, they're taking a cheese grater to your head and trying to work you down.
It's 18 cents, and you were a little bit more pessimistic. I think you were just situationally pessimistic, and I wasn't sure if you were pessimistic.
I'm just being realistic. The stock is going down. They are going to have to reverse split, and Ethereum doesn't give a shit, because they are still going to end up in a position where they can push the price to wherever they want. Their goal is to get 100% of the company under their control. That is what they want. Once they do that, they have full control. They can give them more money to keep operating. That's not a problem.
Right. Yeah. No. That's so. But even if we could ride, we'll do well if as long as the FDA gets approval, we'll do well either way. It's a matter of how well.
Right.
Would that be a fair assessment if you hang in there?
If you hang in there, ultimately, as long as the company doesn't go bankrupt and Ethereum continues to come to their rescue, which I am quite confident they will continue to do.
Yeah, they will, as long as the results, especially if it's phase 3, if it's successful, then yeah.
Ethereum gives them
finish
just
line, right?
enough. Ethereum keeps buying just enough shares from the company to give them cash to keep going, and that's what they keep doing. They keep accumulating shares in exchange. Okay, here's your allowance, kids, and then
Yeah,
Biora
yeah,
keeps
I'm with you.
operating for the next couple of quarters. That's
I'm with you.
that's basically how this is going.
As
So
long as they're obviously, watching how the study's probably going, even as it's going on. You're
right,
probably getting early stage results. I mean, even the phase 3, they're going out, whatever promising indicators to see if
right,
the odds are if it's gonna be successful in phase 3.
precisely.
I'm with you.
What
You
I'm
just have to
noticing
hang in there.
what I'm noticing about this is that look at the age on loan for all of the shares that are sold short. The age on loan average is over 100 days, and the number of loans. So the day that all of these shorts entered their positions was between the 28th of March and 6th of June. And now the number of loans is slowly trickling down, but the age on loan is still going up. That tells me that they're unwinding their short positions and they're preparing to go long. It's just a matter of time. I think they'll do it either. I have two theories. One, they will either reverse split the stock, they will let it get beat to hell, and then they will buy it, and then they will announce it on a weekend after the market closes and say, hey, guess what? We bought Biora and we're going to save the company. They have unlimited money now. They'll be able to complete their phase 3 trials and we'll give them enough cash to go to 2040 and we're going to guarantee their success. And then it'll go ballistic, but not before then. The other theory that I have is
Yeah.
that they will cancel the reverse split, give them a giant cash infusion in exchange for 100% or nearly 100% ownership of the company so that they can sell it to the highest bidder in the future. But regardless, Ethereum's goal, in my opinion, is they want 100% ownership of this company or as much as they can possibly get, soak the market, completely rip those shares out of the hands of retail investors and any other institutions that are competing with them and make it too painful for them to continue. All the while, Ethereum knows goddamn well that this company is not going to fail because they have enough cash to not let them.
Right.
And they know that their product is going to be workable. And they probably are also aware of all of the partnerships that Biora has not yet disclosed because they have a gag order. So Biora has not released the names of their partners, even though we know they have 3 of them. They only released one, and it was a small one to placate investors and give them just a little bit to keep pouring their money into this thing to give Ethereum liquidity to short. That's my theory of how this is going. And of course, all the while, I'm going to be the bad guy. I'm going to be wrong, and I'm going to be the to retail because I convinced everybody to bag hold. And you know what? I just accept that at this point that I'm going to be the who tricked retail into buying a stock that was going to zero until suddenly it doesn't, and the stock is
Right.
going to be
Yeah. No.
saved by the big institution that wanted everybody to give it up in the first place. So
Right.
whatever. If that's how it has to go, then fine. I accept my place on I accept my place on the dais. Fine. I'll let everybody just throw their stones. I really don't care at this point. I am quite confident in my choice for this company because I know their technology is going to differentiate the world of internal medicine. It's going to disrupt the industry. And
Yeah.
Ethereum
No.
is not in a position where they are at risk of failure. They are in this for the long game.
Yeah. BIOR is not. You said Ethereum, but you meant BIOR. BIOR is
No,
not.
I did mean Ethereum. Ethereum will not let
Oh.
Biora fail because if Biora fails, then Ethereum's investment goes to zero. They're not going to let that happen. Ethereum has plenty of money.
Right. So is there a chance though that they dilute the hell out of it so that just to anybody who's left, like you and me perhaps, who the brave ones who stick it out and go through all the pain, that suddenly our shares are virtually worthless anyway? Or do you think that won't be necessary, that if they seem to have gotten like 90-something% of it, let's say perhaps at the end?
I think that once they get like overwhelming majority and they're positive that they have pretty much all of the shares that they could ever possibly want, then they'll let it go. It's all a matter of, for them, accumulating enough that they've put the company in a position where they have no choice but to dilute all that remains. But I'll go to dilution tracker since I have access to this.
Yeah, so you're not worried like that because that could be the other scenario. You hang on, you hang on through it, and everything goes smoothly, and then they say, okay, we're gonna smoke anybody who's not us by diluting the hell out of it and making your shares virtually worthless anyway.
Right.
Or that's unlikely. Then you're saying.
Yeah, I feel that it's unlikely. So they do have a high shelf capacity. They've got more than $20 million worth of shelf capacity, so they can dilute much more. They have, and that would be greater than 50% of their total dilution capacity. So they can continue. Like the company is holding on to far more shares than what are actually in the market. The number of shares in the market is probably less than 40% of what Biora itself holds. They have way more authorized shares that are available that Ethereum wants. That's what's happening here, is that Ethereum really wants the company to not Ethereum wants the company to issue those shares so that Ethereum can buy them. That's what I think is happening here. I'm very I'm basically sold on the idea that Ethereum is doing everything they can to cause enough pain to this company to put them in a squeeze and force them to dilute.
Yeah.
And Ethereum, and right now the company is doing everything that it can to make decisions to save their balance sheet and keep their costs and their expenses as low as possible to get them as far along the runway as necessary so that they do not have to dilute.
Yeah.
Because
so it's a race of time against time to get to phase 3. Once if that comes out successful, then Ethereum has not succeeded at that point.
Exactly.
They'll probably have a much more difficult road, right? Because that'll get out. Once everybody knows once you pass phase 3, you're on your way to FDA approval.
Right.
And you get all sorts of people willing to help you then.
Right.
Correct? Is that your assessment? I'm not trying to put words.
No, it is. That is how I feel about it. It's a matter of but ultimately it's a matter of people being patient. This is one of the few moments where I get to use Warren Buffett's famous quote that the stock market is an extraordinary vehicle of transferring money from the impatient to the patient.
Yeah.
This is a very appropriate use for that quote. This stock will require a lot of patience.
I hear you. That's what I'm doing. I'm in it. I'm in it to win it with you. But I was curious at what you thought, because you started to sound a little pessimistic. So I was curious if you still. But now I understand, what you're saying is pain.
I don't want to. I don't want my realism to be mistaken for pessimism. But I am being realistic that the company's stock is going to continue to go down until something happens.
Right. But it's not going to zero. That's the caveat that
I don't believe it's going to zero.
Yeah. Unless, of course, something fails with phase 3, which hopefully is unlikely.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to watch this video. If you enjoyed the content and you found this information helpful to you in your own trading strategies, be sure to leave a like on the video. It helps out the YouTube algorithm and helps us reach out to others who need this information too. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're not a member of Hell's Trading Floor already, consider joining our Discord by joining us at hellstradingfloor.com, which will allow you to sign up for our Discord at discord.gg/hellstradingfloor. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, have a hell of a time in the markets.